Welcome back. Episode 2 is the final one, and it goes hard.
We talk about overcoming fear by acting fast and why service beats self-obsession.
The speed thing alone was already messing with my brain.
Yeah, because he basically said waiting is the real cost, not mistakes.
But isn't acting fast how you also make dumb, irreversible moves?
He's not saying be reckless, he's saying default to action when it's reversible.
Reversible actions. So try the 100K test first.
Exactly, the marketing example was so clean. Speed wins when you can iterate.
Meanwhile, procurement is annual leave incarnate, holding the invoice hostage.
Dude, that 9 months waiting for a meeting line was savage.
What I liked is he reframed fear as human instinct to wait, not weakness.
Right, he said most people hesitate because inaction feels like lowest risk.
But inaction can be cheaper short-term, though, like you're avoiding turbulence.
Sure, until the delay compounds and you pay with the opportunity cost.
That father-son deal story, do it immediately versus execute in 9 months, hit.
9 months later? Congrats, you invented failure as a timeline feature.
He also said SEAL default mode is aggressive action, but training overrides instinct.
That part was interesting. He literally had to push some people forward in training.
Paintball flying, and the guy's like, nah, I'm gonna back away.
And he's like, you see that problem? Go solve it.
What I'm chewing on is the 70% of the time action beats inaction claim.
I'm not sure it's universally 70, but the principle is solid. Hesitation adds up.
Because fear says wait, and leadership says move, but with judgment.
He kept stressing balance. There are times to hold back, which is the dichotomy.
So the takeaway isn't always go, it's learn when not to be frozen.
And the business translation was basically test small, reverse quickly, learn faster.
That would have saved my last company meeting series called Let's Align.
Align is just inaction with better branding.
Another theme that blew me away was service and brotherhood.
Yeah, he was very direct. If you put yourself above the team, you're not a good operator.
In the SEAL context, it sounded like loyalty is non-negotiable, not a vibe.
And in business, it becomes, people can smell credit grabbing instantly, right?
Give me credit reduces your credit, like gravity for egos.
He made it sound like the universe punishes accolade-seeking with instant reputation loss.
But he also admitted you can be successful while being selfish for a while.
Yep, you might get promotions, but relationships burn, and eventually your career ceiling appears.
I've seen selfish people win, though. How do you reconcile that with they get screwed?
I think he meant the long game. You can outrun consequences briefly, but you can't outrun people.
People are the infrastructure, honestly.
Exactly. And leadership is elected by demonstrated competence plus support for others.
That Steve Jobs line, leaders who focus on work and don't chase leadership, felt true.
The system selects them like a tournament, not like a popularity contest.
Then he connected fulfillment to serving others, not serving self.
And it wasn't philosophical only. He tied it to training and struggle together.
Jiu-jitsu as shared suffering is such a weirdly perfect answer to modern loneliness.
He basically said, discipline you can't feel, train anyway, and the dopamine comes after.
And the metaphor is like, you'll struggle, you'll sweat, maybe you'll get injured. Welcome to brotherhood.
I also liked that he didn't pretend games can't help. Video games just don't build the same real bonds.
Though to be fair, games can be community, just not always earned suffering.
True, but he's arguing for meaning that has friction and commitment, not just entertainment loops.
That matches the war to business framing, too. Business problems are missions.
He's like, sorry it looks like war, but the team dynamics are the same.
Then we got the remember but don't dwell life lesson, and he used Uncle Rico.
I love that reference because it's so visual, living in high school glory.
He basically said combat is amplified life, but you don't want your present to rot in nostalgia.
And it's funny, he also said he'd do it again 100%, but he wouldn't chase the past.
That's elite emotional discipline right there.
We also touched the discipline equals freedom thing again, which is his core framework.
And the Doritos line, like spit them out and hang a pull-up bar.
It's motivational chaos, but the logic is consistent. Trade immediate comfort for future autonomy.
This episode also had the leadership operating system: responsibility, balance, and action.
Yeah, extreme ownership, then dichotomy of leadership, then discipline equals freedom, like a three-part engine.
But I'm glad he pushed back on authoritarian stereotypes, because that's how people misread command.
He said he lets subordinates plan, listens more than he talks, and tries to not even need to yell.
If you have to yell, you already made mistakes. That's ruthless self-awareness.
And then he went into what makes a good man without buying extremes. Too much of any trait becomes toxic.
I appreciated the balance framing instead of culture war answers.
So competitive is good, but hyper-competitive becomes self-destruction and social wreckage.
Aggression is good, except when you elbow the hostess into the afterlife.
Exactly. Aggression taken to an extreme is just arrogance with stamina.
And stoicism taken too far becomes sociopathy. He didn't sugarcoat that.
Then he tied it to checking feedback from your spouse or your boss. Balance is responsive, not theoretical.
My favorite personal moment was the wife covering him during deployments.
Yeah, the cover and move idea expanded into home life like a real team sport.
And his emotion there looked like pure appreciation, not performance.
That's the thing. Brotherhood isn't just battlefield talk, it's daily loyalty.
And then the closing question. He wanted Mark Lee, Mikey, and Ryan Job back to say thanks.
Gratitude, he said he can't express enough, because words fail for that kind of sacrifice.
All right, so final thought from me. Speed is compassion to your future self. Test, learn, iterate.
And service is the engine. Leadership is given, not taken. And discipline buys the freedom you want.
That's a wrap on this 2-episode run. Thanks for listening with us.
Go spit the Doritos out, train something hard, and move when it matters.
Welcome back. This episode finishes the Jocko Willink thread with action, balance, and brotherhood.
We go from why speed beats hesitation, to how service beats ego, to discipline creating real freedom.
The speed is compassion line is so painfully true in business, it hurts.
Because the real cost isn't the wrong decision, it's the 9-month procurement meeting lag.
9 months for an invoice like it's forging a sword, not signing paperwork.
Exactly. And Jocko's whole point was, most things are reversible, so test fast.
But what about the rare stuff that is genuinely irreversible?
Then you still act fast. You just add more thinking, less procrastination.
Translation, still move, just move with fewer idiots in charge.
Look, even the house example. People act like you're stuck forever after one purchase.
Yeah, like you buy $1 million house and lose $1 million emotionally.
You don't lose the million. You lose the spread and transaction pain. Then time can recover it.
That connects to his SEAL training idea. Your default can't be wait.
He basically said default aggression. Then you calibrate with judgment, dichotomy of leadership.
I love the detail that even a naturally aggressive young SEAL could freeze under pressure.
Most humans hesitate because the lowest risk-looking move is doing nothing.
Which is wild, because inaction is the thing that quietly compounds into failure.
He uses that father-son story like, one executes immediately, one takes 9 months, guess who wins?
And that's such a clean business metaphor. Speed is a strategy, not just urgency cosplay.
Though I hate when people turn act fast into act reckless, like startup ADHD.
Right, if your test is just lighting money on fire, you're not learning. You're gambling.
Jocko's emphasis was, make decisions iterative, low cost, and designed to be reversed.
This is where his leadership theme shows up too, service instead of credit grabbing.
The don't worry about getting promoted bit was basically focus team, mission, execution.
And the ego move is, they won't notice I did it. So you ask for accolades.
And the moment you ask for credit, your credit goes down. Everyone can smell it.
That's such a social truth. It's not even cynical. It's just how trust forms.
He even described the leader's job as making others look good, regardless of whether they're selfish or insecure.
But I did wonder, what if someone's selfish and you're not their boss or peer?
Then you're just stuck trying to protect the environment while you keep your own integrity intact.
Because some people carry that ego like a shield and you can't negotiate with it.
He went there. Ego has historically gotten people and troops killed, so it's not a small flaw.
And he said it shows up in business too. They get a couple promotions, then burn relationships.
That's why leadership is given lands. Service is the engine, not the branding.
Then he flips it into fulfillment, like self-actualization through serving others, not yourself.
He connected it back to the SEAL core belief. Take care of your friends and your team.
Brotherhood isn't just battlefield talk. He made it sound like daily loyalty, even in mundane life.
And then he adds the weirdly practical fix, jiu-jitsu as shared suffering and discipline.
Go train jiu-jitsu is such an aggressive therapy recommendation, but it's kind of genius.
I mean, it's a good substitute for dopamine-chasing games, honestly.
Because gaming can offer purpose-like loops, but it doesn't force effort under fatigue with real people.
Jiu-jitsu does. You show up tired, you struggle, you get coached, you improve, you repeat.
And he broadened it. Rock climbing, CrossFit, any shared hardship where you're working together.
The mechanism is the same. Discipline plus brotherhood plus skill plus feedback.
Basically, stop outsourcing your meaning to a controller and start sharing suffering with adults.
Yeah, and he made the point that business should look like that too.
Like teams solving problems under constraints, resources, deadlines, emergencies, all of it.
That's why his cover and move metaphor for family hit hard, even though it's not romantic.
I was out of balance. She pulled the family unit into balance. Is real leadership, not ideology.
He treated her like a princess and credited her for covering the home front while he served.
And then the emotion shows up because he's not performing gratitude. He genuinely appreciates it.
He also said military spouses deserve recognition, but it often doesn't get outwardly rewarded.
Which ties back to discipline equals freedom, because discipline isn't punishment. It's future leverage.
And he made it contrarian. Discipline buys the freedom you want, especially in health, money, and time.
The Doritos metaphor was brutal, but honestly, it's a clean trigger. Decide now, not later.
Spit the Doritos out, then go do push-ups. Instant identity change.
I hope listeners don't interpret that as never relax, though, because balance matters.
He hammered balance over extremes. Any trait taken to an extreme becomes a problem.
So the leadership dichotomy is the practical version of don't live at the extremes.
And that's why he said closed mind gets you caught off guard. Open mind is survival in strategy.
Which is funny because people assume authoritarian equals closed-minded shouting orders.
And he's like, I let subordinates plan. And also, if I have to yell, I failed earlier.
That one is ice cold. If you need to shout, you didn't build the system or the clarity.
Right. Clarity and thumbs-up competence should reduce the need for coercion.
The whole thread is take responsibility, be balanced, act with speed, serve instead of ego.
And build a brotherhood, whether it's a platoon, a team, or a mat where you train together.
That's the last episode: energy, discipline, action, and human connection as the real fuel.
Go spit the Doritos out, train something hard, and move when it matters.
Welcome back, man. Final stretch, same energy, zero slow-mo.
We just wrapped the whole thread. Discipline as freedom, action over hesitation, and brotherhood as the real antidote to fear.
And the funniest part is how action sounds scary until you realize inaction is usually the real cost.
Yeah, people treat decisions like they're permanent statues instead of reversible experiments.
Like in business, everyone waits 9 months for procurement to sign and calls it careful.
Meanwhile, the actual expense is time, not money. Plus, everybody is already half checking out mentally.
The test with 100 grand idea is so obvious, but we act like we're incapable of doing it.
People want the big, confident bet, but they don't want the discomfort of starting small.
Exactly, fear just dresses up as process. It's like, bro, that's procrastination with a tie.
And the seal angle was wild. In a pressure moment, default aggression isn't about being loud.
It's like training the nervous system to move before your brain finishes writing a novel.
Right? He literally described having to push a young leader toward the problem, because instinct is to wait.
That's why the 70% of the time action beats inaction line hits, because it admits nuance, not bravado.
But I still want to ask, where's the line where hesitation is smart instead of cowardly?
True, because you can train action so hard that you stop thinking, and that's just reckless speed.
His whole dichotomy of leadership thing kind of covers it, though. Act, then recalibrate.
The real cheat code is having the confidence to try, and the discipline to admit you might be wrong.
And he connected it to that father-son story. Instant execution wins, slow execution dies.
That's the cruelest lesson ever. Time itself becomes the opponent.
Also, the ego part. Most people think leadership is taking, but it's giving. Cover and move.
Cover and move should be stitched onto every startup wall, honestly.
And the part where he said, if you ask for credit, your credit goes down. So petty, so true.
The minute you say, look at me, you become less trustworthy as a team player.
Do you believe that ego always shows eventually? Or can someone really keep it under control forever?
In most teams, it surfaces because relationships are an operating system, not a vibe.
I've seen selfish folks get promotions, though, so it can take a while.
Yeah, they get a couple promotions, like someone winning battles without building loyalty.
And then they hit a ceiling because nobody wants to bet their life on their competence.
That's the brotherhood point. People trust the person who protects the group, not the person who negotiates their own glory.
Speaking of brotherhood, the jiu-jitsu segment was oddly satisfying.
It sounded like a sales pitch until he explained it as shared suffering plus dopamine plus community.
Shared suffering is a real bonding mechanism, and we pretend it's toxic unless it's a gym membership.
Like, I had to choke and be choked. Therapy, apparently. Brutal therapy.
But it's also discipline made social. You don't feel like quitting because your people are showing up.
Whereas solo discipline collapses the minute the motivation battery dies.
That's why discipline equals freedom feels less like poetry and more like engineering.
Yet I can already hear people saying, discipline is oppression.
And he's like, if you lack discipline, you become a slave. Disease, debt, no time.
The Doritos line was wild, though, aggressively practical. Spit them out, go do pull-ups.
It's basically start tiny, build momentum, let identity follow behavior.
I liked how he didn't just say, be disciplined. He gave an image so dumb it becomes memorable.
Like, if a kid is eating chips on their belly, you're not going to win with abstract motivation.
Also, his stress philosophy, sleep as the foundation, was refreshingly boring in the best way.
Yeah, he basically said, if you don't sleep, everything else gets messy. Emotionally, creatively, all of it.
But he makes it sound too controllable. What about chaos, travel, kids, real life?
He did acknowledge systems, not perfection. Pick a time, protect it, adjust around reality.
No meetings before 11 o'clock is the most peaceful flex I've heard all year.
For you, maybe my brain would rebel and file a complaint.
The deeper question was masculinity too. He basically refused extremes.
Yeah, the whole any trait taken to an extreme becomes a problem framework. Competitive, aggression, stoicism, balanced is the target.
I like the balance idea, but it can sound like be normal.
Be normal is just be aware, which is harder and more useful.
And he tied it to feedback from your wife, your boss, your life, like you're constantly tuning.
That part felt real. If work is swallowing dinner repeatedly, you're not being disciplined. You're being misaligned.
And when he talked about being out of balance during deployments, The team framing landed.
His wife covered the home front so he could focus on the mission. That's the definition of cover.
And he admitted he couldn't give time, but he tried to compensate with respect and care.
That's why the gratitude section wasn't performative. It was emotional because it was earned.
The whole show ends up saying, don't exist, go live, chase hard things, fail, then win later.
Life without challenges is existence. That's a line that should be tattooed somewhere inconvenient.
And it loops back. Action, discipline, and brotherhood are basically one system.
Because action needs courage, discipline needs structure, and brotherhood fills your tank when fear returns.
All right, final wrap. If listeners remember one thing, it's move when it matters, then refine.
And do it with people, because you don't train strength alone. You build it together.
That's the series, man. Thank you for hanging through the mess.
We'll see you next time. Now go do something hard, and don't negotiate with your Doritos.
Welcome back, yeah?
This episode is basically fear gets beaten by speed, tests, and default aggression.
Then we go deeper. How service and brotherhood aren't nice, they're fuel.
Also, remember but don't dwell is the anti-Uncle Rico prescription.
I love the way he kept hammering the same idea from different angles.
Yeah, speed wins, but I kept waiting for the unless clause.
And it came like, sure, sometimes you hesitate, but mostly act.
The business part was the cleanest translation. The real cost is time lost in approvals.
Exactly. 9 months of meetings sounds productive, but it's actually the tax.
And everyone pays it by pretending decision-making is the same as thinking.
That line about reversible decisions, most aren't permanent anyway, felt like permission.
Permission, sure, but sometimes reversibility is fake in companies.
True, marketing reversibility is often, we'll walk back the damage later.
But even then, testing smaller is the whole point. Reduce commitment, increase learning.
The try it for 100 grand example was like, that's disciplined capitalism.
That's not gambling, that's controlled chaos with a spreadsheet heartbeat.
And you could feel the military bias. Default mode is action.
I'm torn, though. Default aggression sounds cool until it becomes noise.
Aggressive isn't the same as reckless, bro.
Right. And he implied the discipline is what prevents the aggression from being stupid.
Also, the father-son thing, where immediate execution wins, hit hard.
Because the delay wasn't just slower, it was fatal to success.
That's the part people don't get. Inaction is not neutral, it compounds.
In business, prolonged consequences exist, even if nobody bleeds today.
And the brain loves lowest risk choices. The risk-free option that's actually the biggest risk.
The safest decision is often do nothing and call it due diligence.
I kept thinking about fear and self-doubt. This guy's whole trick is to shrink the decision, then move.
Yeah, it's fear management through action, not through vibes or journaling fantasies.
And he didn't pretend every hesitation is bad. He just said default should be action 70% of the time.
That number is arbitrary though, right? People love percentages to feel safe.
Sure, but the principle is consistent. Act, learn, adjust, repeat.
Which connects to the whole leadership frame. Leadership is giving, not taking.
Focus on the mission, your teammates do a good job. The promotion comes later like gravity.
And the second you ask for credit, your credit count goes down.
That's brutal and also painfully true in team sports and boardrooms.
The selfish colleague story is universal. People can smell it, even if the guy thinks he's slick.
I liked his "how do you deal with selfishness" response. Build relationships no matter what.
But sometimes, relationship building doesn't fix the incentive structure.
True, but he was talking leadership behavior, what you can control first.
And he used ego as the common villain across war and business.
That ego line is scary because it's basically ego can get people killed. So in business, it'll still ruin you.
Which brings us to the bigger theme. Service and brotherhood aren't sentimental. They're structural.
Serve others as a path to self-fulfillment was the core arc of the conversation.
And he didn't sell it like poetry. He sold it like that's how platoons work.
The cover and move metaphor for marriage was also wild.
The idea that while he was deployed, she balanced the whole ship, money, broken water heater, everything.
That emotion he had saying, "she covered for me," was real gratitude, not performance.
And it reframed balance as teamwork, not scheduling perfect weekends.
I mean, work-life balance talk can be so self-centered sometimes.
Like, how do I maintain my identity while I optimize productivity? Chill.
Then we got the discipline equals freedom framing. Counterintuitive, but it landed.
The Doritos thing was hilarious, but it was also a behavioral prompt.
Spit them out, go do pull-ups is such a direct lever.
I do worry people take it as motivation porn instead of actual system design.
But he paired it with sleep, routines, training. So it wasn't just an insult to junk food.
The sleep foundation part was quietly the most practical advice in the whole episode.
Because if you don't protect sleep, everything else becomes a negotiation with your worst self.
Your discipline turns into vibes management by 3 p.m.
And then jujitsu shows up like the secret ingredient for brotherhood.
Shared suffering is such a clean mechanism for bonding and confidence.
You need a problem? Go train jujitsu. That's reckless branding, but effective.
It's basically community plus discipline plus feedback loops all in one room with bruises.
And it beats video game escapism without shaming anyone for playing.
Because the point isn't the game, it's the missing brotherhood and purpose in real life.
Which is also why extreme ownership and dichotomy of leadership keep surfacing.
I liked his balance argument. Traits taken to extremes become problems.
Like aggression, good in context, disastrous in restaurants or teams.
Stop discussing what it is to be a man. Then he actually answers with balance and feedback.
And he connected it to the real struggle, purpose, meaning, and men needing structure.
The whole episode is basically a blueprint for filling the tank when fear returns.
Action fills the tank, discipline keeps it from leaking, and brotherhood recharges you.
Final thought, don't live in the past like Uncle Rico. Remember, then move forward.
We're out, man. This series was a ride.
If you take one thing, move when it matters, then refine together.
Welcome back, man. This is the last lap of our series.
We zoomed in on fear and self-doubt, then basically flipped it into discipline, fast action, and brotherhood.
And the scary part was how often in business, inaction feels like low risk.
Low risk is such a scam, though, until you're 9 months late and the plan dies.
Exactly. He said the real cost is the months of approvals, not the wrong decision.
Procurement needs to sign is the villain in every org, bro.
I love that he kept bringing it back to reversibility. Test first, then commit.
That buy the house then regret it analogy was oddly comforting.
Most people treat decisions like permanent life sentences.
And the irony is, the final thing is rarely final. Time just makes the damage stick.
He basically argued speed is what wins because most choices are reversible.
Sure, but there's a twist. Some things really are irreversible.
Like emotional irreversibility, saying something dumb in a meeting.
Or hiring a guy who's a walking credit harvesting machine.
Speaking of credit, I actually hated how accurate the asking for accolades lowers your credit line felt.
Yeah, that's the Steve Jobs energy. Do the work. Don't audition for the title.
He also said leadership is basically giving, not taking, and it clicked.
And then he linked it to brotherhood. Service to the team creates fulfillment.
It's wild how often serve yourself culture collapses into selfishness anyway.
Like you can't outsmart humans. Everyone smells when you're managing your ego.
He described the selfish coworker as someone everyone notices, even if they think nobody will.
People never think they're obvious, and then they give you a performance review of their own ego.
The way he talked about default action in SEAL training was intense.
Yeah, he said even aggressive people can freeze when information is scarce.
That's the part I keep coming back to. Waiting feels safe until waiting starts killing you slowly.
He threw the 70% of the time action beats inaction stat vibe out there.
Don't make it a religion, but don't make it a fear ritual either.
And he didn't deny hesitation. He just said your default should be action, not paralysis.
I liked that he framed it as training a setting, not forcing a personality.
Like firmware update, your human instincts want status quo, so you install move.
The push him in the back to solve the problem line. Bro, that's leadership.
And it's also emotional. People back away because they don't want to be responsible for outcomes.
Which connects to fear, anxiety, self-doubt. Action is a coping mechanism, but not a panic mechanism.
Right? Because action without judgment becomes chaos. And he basically warned about extremes everywhere.
His whole take a trait to the extreme philosophy was basically an anti-toxicity framework.
Like masculinity, competitive, aggression, stoicism, good in balance, disastrous in obsession.
That no emotions thing being sociopath adjacent was blunt and kind of refreshing.
He did Marcus Aurelius, then immediately went practical and psychology level.
He was like, don't discuss what it is to be a man, and then didn't obey his own advice.
But his point was clear. Be balanced and get feedback. Your wife, your boss, reality itself.
I liked the framing. If your family says you're missing dinner for the 9th time, that's feedback.
If your boss says you're leaving early, that's also feedback. Different direction, same lesson.
And the oscillate emotionally up and down bit. Stability as a survival skill, not a personality trait.
It's basically discipline again, but applied to your nervous system and your decisions.
Then we get to the diet version of freedom. Discipline equals freedom, and he made it tangible.
The Doritos pull-up bar rant was absurdly effective, by the way.
He basically said, spit the Doritos out like it's a moral commandment.
But I think the core is right. Instant gratification steals future options.
Exactly. Discipline creates time, health, energy, and options to choose your life.
And then he tied discipline to belonging. Jiu-jitsu as shared suffering and brotherhood.
Jiu-jitsu as a tank fill mechanism. Dopamine plus identity plus community.
He said train when tired, then you feel awesome. Then you're with people you relate to.
That's such a good counter to isolation, especially for young men searching for purpose.
Purpose isn't found by thinking harder. It's found by showing up with others in hard things.
He even made business sound like combat leadership. Problems, resources, urgency, execution.
Yeah, but hopefully people don't interpret that as be dramatic. It's about teamwork under pressure.
And he gave a real reason. Trauma can bond teams that survive the same storm.
That's the we went through 2008 together vibe. Shared hardship becomes shared trust.
Then the life balance section hit me. He admitted he was out of balance during deployments.
But he made it a team arrangement. She covered what he couldn't, and he compensated through appreciation.
He was basically like, service is mutual, and the wife's work is real combat on the home front.
And the emotion in his voice was the proof. Gratitude isn't performative, it's lived.
That's why the brotherhood message isn't cheesy. He spoke from actual partnership, not slogans.
And the final question, bringing back his fallen SEAL comrades, was just pure thank you energy.
It's gratitude as mission fulfillment, not gratitude as a feel-good ending.
Honestly, if someone listening gets one thing, it should be remember, but don't dwell.
And if they get 2 things, move when it matters, then refine, together, with discipline and a team.
All right, we're closing this out. This series has been a wild ride.
We're out, man. Go fill the tank, spit the Doritos, and take action responsibly.
Welcome back, you beautiful chaos makers. Episode 2 is the finale.
We covered fear and self-doubt, why action beats inaction, and why brotherhood plus discipline actually changes people.
I keep thinking about the time you waste cost in business. 9 months to sign an invoice.
The meeting isn't the meeting, it's the slow-motion death of momentum.
And the wild part is, everyone thinks no action is the lowest risk.
Yeah, because in the short term it feels safe, until the bill for inaction shows up.
That SEAL's story analogy, one takes 9 months, one executes immediately, was brutal.
It was like, the universe doesn't negotiate with procrastination.
I also liked how he didn't preach recklessness. He kept saying default mode matters.
Exactly. Be aggressive by default, but be wise when hesitation is actually correct.
The way he described training people to act, even when they don't want to, was hilarious.
I had to push him in the back is the most friendly threat ever.
And then the business translation test with 100K instead of locking in a million.
That's the real CEO move. Don't freeze, run reversibility experiments.
It's basically speed wins when the downside is limited.
Low cost, reversible, and move. Otherwise, you're paying the procrastination tax.
I love the line about most decisions not being final, even houses.
People act like buying a house is a lifelong marriage to a bad choice.
Like, no, you might lose 80 grand, not a million. Math is your friend.
Wait, though. Where do you draw the line between action and actually being dumb?
Yeah, because 70% action can sound cool until you're acting on vibes.
That's why the dichotomy framing matters. Leadership isn't one gear forever.
Right, action as default, but balance as the steering wheel.
And then the whole service fills you thread, brotherhood, mission, team.
The contrast was clean. Serve others, or your ego starts digging graves.
Ego is so loud everyone notices it's chewing.
I'm glad he called out selfish credit-seeking too. When you ask for accolades, they drop.
That's a real leadership observation. Competence becomes visible when you stop performing for credit.
Also, the job style idea. Hire people so they tell you what to do.
But it's not I'm too humble, it's good systems and good people beat ego.
And he made it very unmacho in a way. No yelling, no authoritarian theater.
The if I have to yell, I already made 47 mistakes line was so ruthless.
That ties into the stress and discipline section. Sleep, training, routines.
Discipline equals freedom clicked harder because he backed it with real constraints.
And then the Doritos metaphor. Spit them out, build the pull-up bar, start now.
Honestly, the Doritos part felt like personal accountability with seasoning.
But the deeper point was, discipline buys optionality later.
Yeah, if you don't, you become a slave to your own biology, finances, and time.
I also loved his balance answer for what it means to be a man.
He basically said, don't take any trait to the extreme, regardless of whether it's masculine.
The UK stat he referenced, suicide being the biggest killer for young men, made the whole purpose talk heavier.
And that's why brotherhood and purpose aren't motivational posters, they're lifelines.
The way he used jiu-jitsu as a purpose machine was actually convincing.
Go train jiu-jitsu is the most consistent prescription I've heard all year.
Because it's shared suffering, real community, and discipline under fatigue.
Exactly. If life feels empty, you need a place where effort and struggle mean something.
And his women-trained jiu-jitsu note was such an easy correction to stereotypes.
It's not tough guy identity, it's human beings learning together.
Then the work-life balance part. He said he was out of balance, but the ship still moved.
And the wife covering on the home front. That was gratitude with no performance.
That emotion wasn't for us, it was for her.
Like he visibly struggled to find words because appreciation doesn't fit into sentences.
And the finale question, bringing back fallen comrades, was straight mission mindset.
Thank you, energy, not a dramatic monologue, just moral accounting.
If someone only takes one thing from this series, it's remember, but don't dwell.
And if they take two things, move when it matters, then refine. Discipline plus team.
Okay, we're wrapping. This series was a sprint through fear, ego, and the power of doing hard things.
We're out, man. Go fill the tank, spit the Doritos, and take action responsibly.